Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores. I know y'all been seeing this love from around the national media, man. We're not talking about Commanders fans. We're not talking about Commanders beat writers and media analysts. We're talking about the national media that normally ignores us, man. And y'all know last year, before YouTube started tripping on it, I would actually upload the direct clips of these people saying it themselves. But since I can no longer do that, we're just going to read the exact quotes that people tweeted, that people said in their videos from their segments the next day, this morning, the night of the game, all types of stuff, man. We have a lot of love for not only just Jayden Daniels, but Kliff Kingsbury, for Terry McLaurin. We have opposing players, we have current NFL players praising us, we have a couple of people apologizing on the internet, we have other teams' fan bases, most notably from the Eagles and Giants, even saying how Jayden Daniels looks so great, he may be the next CJ Stroud. We have people saying that Jayden Daniels is a top 7 quarterback. You even have Nick Wright that has Jayden Daniels in one of his top tiers of quarterbacks already. Best team in NFC East, destined to win the division. We're going to dive into all of these compliments and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned, follow the content. I know my Cash App was tripping during the stream, in that Bengals stream where we got that beautiful win, man. So I had to go and make a new Cash App. So now, as you see in all of my live streams and videos, there is a new link, there's a new account, $StreetScores, just to let you know. But stay tuned. I'm coming to y'all with daily content. We're about to start getting those film sessions out to my exclusive channel members, but I wanted to make sure I updated y'all on that whole Cash App situation because I know a lot of people were asking during that live stream. But without further ado, instead of wasting even more of y'all time, let's go and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. Now, before we even start, of course, some people preferred to focus more so on how bad the Bengals are rather than focusing on how good we are, which was kind of expected, especially once I thought about the fact that now the Bengals are 0-3. So now it looks like the Commanders just beat a 0-3 team, even though, when you really dive into the deeper context, that was still a great win. That's the same Bengals team that gave the Chiefs fits, that should have beat the Chiefs if the refs didn't cheat. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like this was just some slouch, but all people see when they look on the surface is the Commanders beat a 0-3 team, whoop-de-doo type of thing. That's just some people, though. Most people gave us our credit. Even people that typically do not give us our credit gave us our credit after this win. And it's mostly because of Jayden Daniels, which like 80% of this video is going to be Jayden Daniels love. Then we'll get to Kliff Kingsbury. Then we'll get to Terry McLaurin for a couple of things as well. But for the most part, this is the Jayden Daniels love fest, basically. And typically if we're ever headlining on ESPN after a game, it's typically because of something negative, but we were front center. You type in ESPN.com soon after that game, or even the next day, as in yesterday, and we were the very front page. But that's what happens when you win Monday night, which is what I talked about in my game review video. Not only was that an away win, where you were down 7-0 immediately, but this was Monday night. Like I said, a lot of fan bases, I'm pretty sure at least minimum 90% of the NFL fandom just checks in on the Commanders every now and then, probably on a Thursday night or a Monday night game, and sees that they're still bad. I mean, the most recent one I think we had was that disgusting Bears game against Justin Fields. I think they just like the majority of fans probably do not watch a lot of our games. They just pull up, oh, the Commanders are still bad, they're still getting whooped on national television for everybody to see, primetime game. Well, they're just still the same old Commanders. Keep it pushing. Don't even watch the rest of their games to see which players are actually good on the roster. They just put us all into one big trash bin, basically. And so now to finally with the bright lights, everybody's watching, because that Bills game was a blowout immediately. So anybody that's a fan of that's not a fan of like the Bills or Jaguars Jaguars are more than likely watching that game between us and the Bengals. It's a more exciting game. It's a very offensive game. It's not necessarily back and forth, but it was always somewhat in reach. We had a lot of exciting plays. Jayden Daniels using his legs, Joe Burrow finding Jamar Chase, it seemed like anytime that he wanted to. So that was like a game with some great national spotlight, everybody watching. I'm pretty sure even some Bills and Jaguars fans was like, yeah, this game is over. Let me go ahead and look at what this other game is talking about. And for us to do that with that many eyes on us changes the entire narrative. That's why you see people that normally disrespect us, that or at best ignore us, even showing love. So let's dive into it. First of all, Jordan Schultz tweeted, text from an NFC East executive, quote, Jayden really might be him, unquote. And I love that quote because that sounds like somebody that didn't believe in him coming out of the draft, like me, where I was like, I could see the arguments for Jayden Daniels being the best quarterback coming out of this draft. I love Caleb Williams' talent, love it. And I think Drake May still has a chance to be a great quarterback as well. And Bo Nix is showing you something as well with the few starts he's progressed and gotten better through his 3 starts. But I even said coming out of the draft that Jayden Daniels, I can see the argument where guys like Louis Riddick, Dan Orlovsky, Kurt Benkert are saying that he could be the best quarterback coming out of this draft, and they were like putting their foot down. Jayden Daniels will be the best quarterback. But apparently whoever this NFC East executive was does not seem like he agreed with that, and it took until this week 3 game for him to finally switch sides on that opinion and be like, you know what, man, maybe Jayden Daniels actually is really that good. So Jayden Daniels, most importantly, is making believers out of even the non-believers, because you have a lot of people, again, like me, Kirk Benkert, Louis Riddick, Dan Orlovsky, just to name a few, that already were extremely high on Jayden Daniels. So when we see this Bengals game, it's not like we can necessarily say that we expected him to have the best rookie game of all time in NFL history, but you know, we're kind of like, well, we saw the signs and he exceeded expectations, but we were already really high on him. The fact that he's changing the minds of guys that did not believe in him coming out of the draft, I think is even more significant, because there are some people that basically having to swallow their pride and say, man, he got it. Like, what can I say? You can't hate at this point type of thing. Now, it's only 3 weeks in, so, you know, narratives can change, things can change, but right now he got it. Also, JP Finley tweeted, former Super Bowl MVP, talking about Jayden Daniels, but didn't say who the former Super Bowl MVP was. There must be a reason that this was kept anonymous, but he said it doesn't take a rocket scientist to break down that play last night. Holy smokes, it wasn't perfection, but it was dang close to perfection. The sky's the limit. That was the exact quote from the Super Bowl MVP. I love it. You even have greats. You have guys that are great, that have done it at the highest level. Super Bowl MVP, he's a winner. He was the best player in that game, feeling that way about Jayden Daniels. Again, we don't know exactly who it is, but that's just to put you on game right there. Then you have Jay Glazer. He tweeted, tonight you saw why the Commanders wouldn't entertain any offers for that number 2 pick for Jayden Daniels. Teams were willing to offer up a lot, but Washington was locked in on him way before the draft. That's a great point. That wasn't even necessarily a compliment to Jayden Daniels per se. That was more so to put it into perspective why the Commanders refused to give up that 2nd overall pick, and more so the fact that the Commanders had a vision of this way back, even before they drafted him. Way well before the draft, man. Also, even Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson. I mean, it's national media. I can't necessarily blame them, but they're not one of those people that have been talking about the Commanders a lot the past couple of years. And why would you, man? If I'm not a Commanders fan, like, why would I talk about the Commanders the past few years, to be completely honest? So even as a Commanders fan, I acknowledge the fact that, yeah, I mean, I see why people haven't really talked about us. But Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson went on their show, Nightcap, where they typically don't talk about us, and gave all of the praise in the world to Jayden Daniels and Kliff Kingsbury, but mostly Jayden Daniels. And this was immediately after the game. You know, they do their nightcap, their reviews, they go live as soon as the game ends. And that's just that was the start of the Jayden Daniels love immediately after the game, flowing all the way up until today. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be more this week. Can't wait to see what guys like Chris Sims and those guys have to say about him later on as they get their podcasts and film reviews out there. But also, let's talk about Skip Bayless, man. He said after the game, the Bengals are down some studs on defense, but the Commanders and their new quarterback look dangerously legit, in all caps, man. And then he also posted a video as soon as the game ended. Holy cowboy, I might have to lower my Cowboy prediction. And basically the main thing that he said in his video that he tweeted with that caption, he said a few good things about the Commanders and basically how scary we may be this season. But most importantly, he said that Jayden Daniels looks like he's on the way to be better than Dak Prescott ever was. And that is coming from one of the biggest Cowboys fans doing it. Then you have Troy Aikman said this exact quote. He just woke up Washington Nation. I spent time there at RFK and FedEx Field as a player. I know what those fans can bring. I'm happy for Washington fans who have been suffering for as long as they have. That's coming from Troy Aikman himself. So we're receiving praise from Cowboys fans, legendary Cowboys players. Even they can't help but salute, man. Then you have PFT commenter. He said, dude, Jayden Daniels is so good. He loves himself some Jayden Daniels. He's been on a Jayden Daniels tweet fest since that game ended. Now, he's had several praising tweets. So if you want to go look at some more Jayden Daniels love that you may have missed, just go check out PFT Commenter, man. He has you covered with a lot of clips, some of them funny and everything like that. Then you have Rich Eisen. I know he's a New Yorker. I believe he's a Jets fan, not a Giants fan. Super New Yorker. He said, wow, Daniel sure dropped his Huggies tonight. Grown man stuff. And I completely agree. A lot of those plays were some grown man football. That wasn't just talent. That was maturity you saw on that field just by week 3. That's the scariest part. That was not just, oh, he runs fast. Oh, he has a strong arm, which a lot of people doubted. I don't think people understand that first Terry McLaurin deep ball, not the game winner, but the one from earlier in the game, was in the air for like 50 something 60 yards, about like in the air that long. Not he threw it to Terry McLaurin and then Terry McLaurin ran to make it a 60-yard reception. Jayden Daniels was on like his own 35 and threw it to like the other 30 or something crazy. Like, y'all gotta realize what type of arm this guy has, and a lot of people were downplaying his arm coming out of the draft, which I mean, how much can I complain when that's that throw to Terry McLaurin, just to let you know, that D-bomb, he never had a throw that long, that far in the air in college. And for him to do that within week 3 of the NFL, apparently the NFL is easier than it was for him in college, which is I just love in itself. Shouts out to Nate Tice on Twitter. He said, this Jayden Daniels throw really stuck out to me tonight. With Daniels looking to throw while moving off of his original launch point. And also he pointed out the fact that according to Next Gen Stats, against the Bengals, Daniels was 5 of 5 for 43 yards on throws on the run against the Bengals. That is fantastic, man. You better watch out for that boy, man. Y'all can't guard him. Y'all can't guard him. I love it, man. Also, shouts out to Chase Daniel. You know he always does his quarterback film sessions, and you know, make sure you go check that out on YouTube. But even before that, he tweeted the night of the game. He said Jayden Daniels in cover 0, standing in the pocket and taking the big hit. Unbelievable. And then he pointed out Jayden Daniels' stats, and he did it all with like explanation points at the end after he put the stats. He's talking about that game-winning throw basically to Terry McLaurin, or the game-sealing throw, I guess you could say, because it wasn't like we were down before then. We were up 5, but still great throw. Then he also said on Twitter, this is a performance you're going to remember for a long time. Never seen a rookie with the courage in the pocket to deliver a dime while he's getting crushed like that. Look when he releases it. And he's pointing out the fact that this guy threw the ball before Terry McLaurin was even open. He was still in front of the defensive back by at least 2-3 yards by the time he released it. That's extreme trust. Then you have Ari Marov at My Sports Update. He said Jayden Daniels had more touchdowns than completions. Let that sink in. And he was praising Jayden Daniels. He praised Jayden Daniels all throughout the game with multiple tweets, but that was like the final one that was like, yeah, that is kind of crazy. More touchdowns than incompletions is insane of a stat, man. And then you have Dan Helly. He tweeted, Lamar Jackson is a poor man's Jayden Daniels. I thought that was hilarious. I'm not going to go that far yet, but Jayden Daniels does have the potential to be the better pocket passer, and pocket passing is the name of the game. Don't sleep on that tweet now. We can laugh now because, he's only 3 weeks in. I don't know, man. And then, of course, Good Morning Football loved all over Jayden Daniels. Everybody, Pete Schrager, everybody up there, Mike Robb, everybody, of course, showed their love. And that's a group of people that even when we were bad, they would acknowledge the good moments that we had. When Sam Howell had a couple of good games, Carson Wentz had a couple of good games, Taylor Heineke, they would be the very few people of the national media that would praise us, talk about us, give us our credit, rather than downplaying us and saying, they're going to end up losing and being sorry anyway, which we ended up being. But Good Morning Football, if you wanted one national media show that I can point to and said that they've had our back for a lot of this journey, It's them. And so you knew that they were going to come and praise us. So shouts out to all of them, man. Mike Robb had a whole segment himself. Peter Schrager had his own segment. Everybody had their own segments breaking down exactly what they love that the Commanders did against the Bengals. And most of the love, of course, went to Jayden Daniels. Then you have Shannon Sharp tweeted himself. Jayden Daniels is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. He's the gospel. Played one hell of a game tonight. Big throw after big throw. He's HIM with 3 flame emojis. That was directly on Twitter before he even started his nightcap show. Then you have Jim Nagy. He said nobody deserves Jayden Daniels like Terry McLaurin. And I agree. Terry McLaurin has long awaited a franchise quarterback. He deserves this more than anybody else, but that's more so a compliment to Jayden Daniels. Like, Terry McLaurin has been a good receiver. He finally has a good quarterback. Then Emmanuel Acho, whole film session. Then he went on his own show and talked about how great Jayden Daniels was. But in his own separate tweet away from his own like actual national show, he said, who? Jayden Daniels. What? Became a star. Where? Monday Night Football. How? Ice in his effing veins. And he did like a little film session. You could tell this is like his own personal family room at his house that he did like a quick little review and everything, man. Shouts out to him. Then you have Jay Gruden himself, our Jay Gruden. And I'm not gonna lie, that's the most energy I think I've ever heard him have in anything I've ever heard him talk about. He has some real energy, man. You can tell that he still has love for Terry McLaurin. And if anybody is really excited to see Terry McLaurin finally get a franchise quarterback, it's Jay Gruden. Remember Jay Gruden, you need to give him all of the credit in the world for finding Terry McLaurin in that 3rd round. That was his draft pick. So if there's nothing else positive you could take away from the Jay Gruden era that we had, is the him finding Terry McLaurin in that 3rd round, and the fact that, I mean, they figured it out before. Remember, we were like in the preseason and they just iced them. People were panicking like, yo, is Terry McLaurin hurt? Like, we saw he was having a great training camp. This guy may be a really good receiver. What's going on? Why are we not seeing him in the preseason? Is he banged up? And then Jay Gruden was basically like, we've seen enough behind the scenes. We don't want anybody else to know. Y'all will find out when you need to find out. So Jay Gruden has had big love for Terry McLaurin. I mean, he even said when Terry McLaurin's even, he's leaving in his Twitter film session of that deep shot from Jayden Daniels to Terry McLaurin. Not the game winning one, but the one earlier in the game. So Jay Gruden loves himself some Jayden Daniels as well. If you're a big Terry McLaurin fan, you love Jayden Daniels to death right now. Shouts out to Warren Sharp because he tweeted Jayden Daniels' passing chart, which I've already shown y'all in a previous video, in my review video of the Bengals game. And he said this passing chart is insane. And it absolutely is, man. Because when you go 21 of 23, 254 yards, attacking deep down the field, it's insane. And remember, one of those incomplete passes was like a miscommunication. It wasn't even necessarily his fault. The other one was where he kind of threw it out of bounds. So you could honestly say that at worst, this guy had 2 incompletions. You could even say that technically he only had 1 incompletion that was his fault all game. Insane. Then, first take. You know what I'm saying? Stephen A. Smith ain't going to ever give us some credit until we go out there and actually win a playoff game. We can finish the rest of this season undefeated. He's not going to believe in us until we actually win a playoff game. So I didn't expect much from him. But Shannon Sharp showing us some love. You got everybody else up there showing us some love. You have my boy from that be on with Bomani Jones. My boy Dominique Foxworth showing us a lot of love on multiple shows too. He was on multiple shows on ESPN showing us love. But you even have Marcus Spears up there. He said that he believes that the Commanders have a shot to win the NFC East, and that was a first take headline in itself. He said, quote, when you have a quarterback, all bets are off, and they have a real one in Washington. Of course, Stephen A. Smith was still refuting it a little bit, but Marcus Spears is like, watch out. These Commanders could potentially go up there and win this NFC East division right now, especially with the Cowboys down. They clearly miss Dan Quinn more than Dan Quinn misses them. There's an argument to be had there. And the Eagles, they may get a couple of losses they shouldn't take early on. We may be able to sneak out this division. But you also have Pat McAfee. Now, Pat McAfee went on a whole onslaught of praise for us, man. If you want like a long-term clip or video of like somebody praising the Commanders, it is Pat McAfee, man. Just alone on Twitter, he uploaded several clips with different captions and video segments from his one show praising the Washington Commanders after that Bengals win, man. Several of them. And if you just go to his show, I mean, he has like his multi-hour show, and like at least minimum like 30 minutes is about us, man. I mean, one tweet was Jayden Daniels is an absolute monster, and then that video clip is 2 minutes in itself. Then the next clip he has that he tweeted, Jayden Daniels only had 2 incompletions last night. Him and Kliff Kingsbury are a great duo. That clip is 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Then you have another clip. He acknowledged the fact that Herb Street said before the draft, quote, "You're going to have all of your draft gurus hype up Drake May and Caleb Williams, but Jayden Daniels is the absolute steal of the draft," unquote. And then that clip is 2 minutes and 13 seconds long in itself. Then you have another one. He said Terry McLaurin is a beast. Quote, from Darius J. Butler, "I'm loving everything that I'm seeing from Jayden Daniels," unquote. That clip in itself is 2 minutes and 16 seconds. I mean, it was just an onslaught of praise from the Pat McAfee show. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you go check that out. If you're a Commanders fan, if you're a Jayden Daniels fan, that's the perfect show to go watch, because they probably talked about us longer than any other show did. And a lot of shows gave us way more time than they usually do, but that Pat McAfee show was a solid 15-20 minutes plus of just pure Commanders. And then also you have Gavin McHugh said, "All right, Jayden Daniels might be special. I've seen what I needed to see." This is another guy that you could just see from the undertone of his voice. Maybe there was a little bit of doubt here. And he wasn't even pointing out one of the throws. He's pointing out that play in this clip when he tweeted that, of him juking out that that Bengals linebacker and completely like made him fall to the ground. Basically hit him with an Allen Iverson crossover type of thing. That's what made him say, "All right, that's it. Forget all doubt, man. Jayden Daniels is that guy." Again, another non-believer turned into a believer. Then, of course, Brian Baldinger did a couple of film sessions on our offense versus the Bengals and gave a lot of expert compliments to Jayden Daniels. Not just the general surface stuff. He's a great quarterback. He was very accurate. He broke down tape. Now, of course, the way he breaks down tape is so old headish. Like the way his camera looks at the film session off a little bit, it's all tilted and stretched. It's really funny. But either way, man, shouts out to Brian Baldinger. He means well. Great guy. And again, he did a great job breaking down a lot of the specific X's and O's of why Jayden Daniels was so great against the Bengals. But even throughout his couple of film sessions on the Commanders offense, he also even complimented Luke McCaffrey as well and acknowledged the fact that he was getting open and making some plays for us. Then I think Skip Bayless's show is gone now, so now they have a new show I think in place called Speak. You have Michael Irvin, Keyshawn Johnson, and they gave big time praise to the Commanders. I mean, you may want to buckle up for this one. And remember, these are two ex-Cowboys, two great ex-Cowboys. So they're diehard for their Cowboys, man. And they gave great praise of not only just Jayden Daniels, but the team overall, even saying, quote, "I'm scared of this team," unquote. But most of it was centered around the fact that Terry finally has the franchise quarterback that he's long deserved. Michael Irvin even laughed at Keyshawn Johnson during the segment for having to deal with double-digit quarterbacks in his career. Remember, Michael Irvin had greats. Keyshawn Johnson did not. He was a great receiver, but dealt with a lot of bad quarterbacks, similar to what the situation was for Terry McLaurin up to this point of having Jayden Daniels. And Keyshawn even seemed really happy because of the fact that it looks like Terry McLaurin's entire career may not be plagued by bad quarterbacks like his was. They also said that Jayden Daniels will win Offensive Rookie of the Year. You can already book it. And they said that while the Cardinals and Giants are basically, because like Marvin Harrison Jr., they said that, you know, maybe he has a chance, but nah, it's Jayden Daniels. Malik Neighbors of the Giants, maybe not. But basically, by saying that Jayden Daniels will win Offensive Rookie of the Year, they also said that the Giants and the Cardinals look like maybe 4, 5, 6 win teams. They said the Commanders, and the main reason why Jayden Daniels will win Offensive Rookie of the Year is because the Commanders are a 9 to 10 win team. And Michael Irvin also even said that the Commanders look better than their own Cowboys right now. I mean, that was a lot of praise. Make sure you definitely go check out what they had to say on the show, The Speak, with Keyshawn Johnson and Michael Irvin. That was a lot of praise from some Cowboys. And then Dan Orlovsky, of course, I mean, you already know. He had Jayden Daniels as QB1. You already knew he was going to do multiple film sessions on national television, but he just simply put out a tweet. Daniels' stat line is impressive, but the tape is better. And then he went on to all his different shows to actually go and break down the tape for ESPN, and it is phenomenal. And I just love the breakdowns that he does for Jayden Daniels. He seems so happy doing it, because you could just tell he was a guy that loved Jayden Daniels coming out of the draft. Again, he had Jayden Daniels as number one quarterback coming out of the draft. And it shows in his film sessions how happy he is breaking down Jayden Daniels. Like, he has a little bit of "I told you so" in his voice when he's breaking down that film. So make sure you go check that out as well. Then you have Albert Breer. He tweeted, "Sure looks like the Commanders picked the right guy at Top Golf." And that's a great point. That's a funny point, but that's a great point as well. Then you have Ian Cummings, who I vividly remember him having Drake May over Jayden Daniels in the draft process. I think he had Drake May as his QB1, and then maybe it was Caleb Williams, then Jayden Daniels. I believe he was one of those guys, but I know for a fact he did not have Jayden Daniels as his quarterback one. He said Jayden Daniels is balling out in Washington. His electric athleticism, quick release, and pinpoint deep passing ability have played primary roles in smoothing his transition to the NFL. Then you have Dez Bryant himself talking about ex-great Cowboys. Go ahead and hand Daniels the Rookie of the Year and explanation points. He had a couple of tweets about Jayden Daniels throughout the game, but that was the final one that he had to pretty much cap the night. Going back to Good Morning Football, Peter Shred said, "Exactly, a star is born." And that's literally it. That was how he started his segment, just to let you know. And then he went and talked about Jayden Daniels for the remainder for like another whole 5 minutes about. Then you have Ryan Wilson and Rick Spielman. They do like reviews after every week, and they mostly like specifically like talk about quarterbacks, especially the rookie quarterbacks. They give their grades after every week on all of the rookie quarterbacks that have already been starting. And so after they ranked their rookie quarterbacks after the game, of course they had Jayden Daniels, then Bo Nix and Caleb Williams, because Bo Nix had a pretty impressive week 3. Caleb Williams looked better week 3 than like the first 2 weeks, you could say, but Bo Nix has probably developed a little bit quicker than him, probably surpassed him a little bit. So they had Jayden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Caleb Williams. Most importantly, of course, they had Jayden Daniels number 1 with a big gap, then Bo Nix, and then Caleb Williams. And then they also gave Jayden Daniels, they give grades as well, not only just ranks but grades, and they gave Jayden Daniels an A+ and an A. And the only reason Rick Spielman, who with Bob Myers helped hire Adam Peters, just to let you know, the only reason they didn't give Jayden Daniels an A+ was, well, Rick Spielman didn't. Ryan Wilson did, but Rick Spielman, the only reason he didn't give Jayden Daniels an A+ is because he said he doesn't do pluses or minuses. He says he's just completely against that, just the principle of it. He just only gives A's, B's, C's, D's, or whatever. He said that Jayden Daniels was almost perfect, basically, and that, you know, if he did give out A+, I guess he would have given him one, but all he gives out is A's. He's not going to do anything higher than that, and nobody else had an A. So just to let you know that. Then, of course, Ryan Clark, boy. And now I do remember him doubting Jayden Daniels a little bit coming out of the draft, but he is an LSU Tiger. So there's arguably not many people happier to see Ryan Clark. To see Jayden Daniels balling out there than Ryan Clark himself. I mean, he's different from Jayden Daniels, who transferred to LSU. This is a guy that was born and raised in the backwoods of LSU. This guy lives and breathes LSU, so he is so happy. And then he did a whole film session on Jayden Daniels immediately, Sports Center, right after the game with Scott Van Pelt. You know Scott Van Pelt, it comes on immediately after the game. Ryan Clark was up there with him, showing so much love to Jayden Daniels. Did a whole film session on him and everything like that. And when he tweeted out the clip of him doing this film session, it's a 2-minute and 41-second clip. He tweeted with it, had to run to the screen like Kenny Smith to talk about Jayden Daniels' big night. Cam Taylor-Britt said he ran a college offense. Apparently, college offenses throw big bombs to his big-time receivers like Terry McLaurin. I love that shot back to Cam Taylor-Britt. The Commanders duo went up top on Britt in the first half of 55. Then the Commanders rookie stood in the fire and took a big hit to drop the perfect pass in the corner to scary Terry McLaurin for the win. Washington, I think you have the guy. Hell, he even said at the end of his film session, which was extremely passionate, probably the most passionate film session you're going to see from anybody reviewing what happened in that Bengals versus Commanders game, that win that we just walked away with, probably the most passionate one. And at the end, he said, I think he said amen or something like that, and then hell at the end, like really emphatically, man. Shouts out to Ryan Clark. I mean, the praise, but also the get back at Cam Taylor-Britt for, kind of talking trash about the Commanders, that they run this simple offense, even though I feel like that was a little blown out of proportion. But either way, I just absolutely love that. So Ryan Clark's segment, if I had to say, like, if I had to do a top 3 like best reviews of Jayden Daniels' game against the Bengals, I would put Ryan Clark in that top 3 just from the passion alone. Then of course Kurt Benkert, again another person that is on an I told you so tour right now. He's been screaming Jayden Daniels was QB1 in this draft and was one of the first people I saw say it. Like, I'm talking about all the way back in like February, March, before we even had the combine, was saying Jayden Daniels was his QB1, and he was getting a lot of hate for it on his YouTube channel, on Twitter and things like that. Of course, most people saying Caleb Williams is quarterback 1. How could you? That's stupid, all that type of stuff. And now he's just on a I told you so tour. So not only does he have a full film session breakdown on YouTube, but he has several clips of him breaking it down. And he said Jayden Daniels is literally growing in real time. And that was one of my favorite parts of his film breakdown of Jayden Daniels, which I've already watched from beginning to end. He points out the fact that Jayden Daniels is improving throughout the game. He had nearly a perfect game, but there was still some things that, like, in the beginning of the game that he kind of missed, that he did not miss at the end of the game. Like, he literally grew up right in front of our eyes in that game, not only just as a quarterback throughout this season, but just mid-game at a certain point, something clicked, and Jayden Daniels looks to be unstoppable moving forward. He also pointed out the fact that there was a mental chess match in that game as well. You may want to go check out that film session to see what he's talking about. Then, on First Things First, who have rarely even acknowledged our existence the past few years. I mean, never talk about us. You had Chris Broussard said that Jayden Daniels already looks like a superstar and one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. And then Nick Wright, I mean, who's like one of the most critical guys you can find, said that the game-winning throw to Terry was the best play of the NFL so far. Just plain and simple. And then Nick Wright, every week he updates his Mahomes mountain, where Mahomes is like the #1 quarterback. First of all, he's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And then also at this point, I mean, how you can really argue against it, because every time we doubt Pat Mahomes throughout the regular season, he shows up in the postseason and ends up winning the Super Bowl. But he basically has a quarterback tier list. And he had Jayden Daniels on the same tier as Matthew Stafford and CJ Stroud already. And he only had Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Pat Mahomes as definitively better and above Jayden Daniels right now. That makes Jayden Daniels at worst a top 7 quarterback in the NFL right now. Jayden was above everybody else in the NFL, including Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, everybody else, Jalen Hurts. I love it. And again, that's coming from Nick Wright, who has absolutely zero reason to show us any extra love more than we deserve. Then you have Craig Hoffman, who is a Commanders reporter. He said, I'm well into the third quarter of this game, and I do not think Daniels has made a suboptimal decision yet. Nevertheless, a bad one. Legit thinking, quote, this is the best quarterback game I've ever seen, unquote, and glad to see this isn't an overreaction from the rest of the media, man. I mean, this guy went crazy. I'm gonna do a whole video either later on tonight or maybe early tomorrow morning giving y'all some ridiculous stats from that game to put it into perspective how historical Jayden Daniels' performance was against the Bengals. I already gave y'all some ridiculous stats in my instant review video after the game. I have even more now that we've had a couple of days to sit on it. Make sure you watch out for that. Then even Prize Picks themselves, not like a person that necessarily works for them individually with their own Twitter account, literally at Prize Picks said, bro playing like a vet, under an NFL tweet of Jayden Daniels wants to go for it on 4th down and deliver it. And that's such a pivotal part of that game, man. He is screaming at the sideline at Dan Quinn and Kliff Kingsbury, let me go for it. Let's go. Hurry up. Like, no. Don't even think about going for the field goal. It's 4th and 4 with the game on the line. Please put the ball in my hands. I'm begging y'all. Please, let's go. What are y'all doing type of thing? And so I've loved the fact that play specifically is getting a lot of love, because a lot of people are talking about the Terry McLaurin deep ball. A lot of people are talking about the Terry McLaurin game-winning throw. Well, technically not a game-winning throw, but you know what I'm saying. At the end of the game-sealing throw. There's a lot of people pointing out a lot of the times that Jayden Daniels used his legs to get out of really bad situations, but I don't think it's being talked about enough how we converted a couple of those 4th downs the way that we did, man. And then you have Louis Riddick, Another guy that, he hasn't necessarily done it on the internet, but I'm pretty sure he's doing it in his own mind, that is doing a I told you so tour as well, because this is another guy that had Jayden Daniels as QB1 and was saying it all off season. He just tweeted a picture of Jayden Daniels, doing this, and he tweeted an emoji with it like this. That's all he said. And everybody should know that Louis Riddick was one of those guys that was already saying all off season Jayden Daniels would be the best quarterback to come out of this class. Then you even have Antonio Brown himself with the hashtag CTESPN. He said Jayden Daniels balling. And I'll take it, man, because this guy always seems to find some weird way to make anything weird or crazy and stuff. I'm just happy that he kept it simple with Jayden Daniels. Even he was able to say something normal when it came to Jayden Daniels. He couldn't even find the joke in this situation. Then you have Kirk Benkert again. The reason I'm bringing it back up is because I love this tweet. He said Jayden Daniels is and has always been my QB1 in this draft. I got dragged 6 months ago all over this app from thousands of people saying the wildest stuff to me because of it. I kept all of the receipts. We will be watching them play for a long time. Enjoy it. I love the fact that a lot of these people that were very high on Jayden Daniels from the very start before the Commanders even drafted him, now they're doing the I told you so tours. I love it, man. And then let's talk about some notable Washington fans around the world and what they've had to say. Now, I know KD is somewhere ecstatic right now. I know Wale and KD are doing backflips if they could physically right now. But of course, Matthew Berry, arguably one of the top, if not the top fantasy guys doing it. Big time Commanders fan. Always has been. I've talked about him in several videos. And he posted a video extremely passionate at 35 seconds of just pure passion. And literally the caption for the tweet, "Are you kidding me, Commanders? Holy S word, HTTC, man." He is so excited. You can even see it from the thumbnail before you even click on the video that he posted on Twitter, how excited he is. Then you have Andrew Brandt. He said, grew up in DC as a diehard Washington fan, went to every game with my dad. I remember how in a region with such political division, a big win would galvanize the DMV in ways nothing else could. That's a great point. Feeling good for all Commanders fans and the area this morning. And then you have Michael Bublé. Apparently, my dog Michael Bublé over there is a big time Commanders fan. Did not know that. And then NBC Sports tweeted, "Cool moment just now as Tommy McFly interviewed the star singer after his coaching debut on The Voice. Turns out he watched Monday Night Football and loves Jayden Daniels and B-Rob, and they did a whole interview about that. But Michael Bublé loves himself some Jayden Daniels." Now we also have a couple of apologies in here as well. You have, remember, Cameron Magruder, who always does those funny skits and always hating on the Commanders. Back on April 25th, he said, "We are not afraid of Jayden Daniels as long as he is throwing for the Commanders." That was the tweet. He literally came and replied to it immediately after that Bengals win. I lied. That's it. And that got so, matter of fact, I'm retweeting that right now as I'm recording. I'm liking and retweeting that right now. And then, even though this isn't necessarily an apology, I love the comment section on this because you have Joe A_NFL, who has been arguably the biggest Jayden Daniels hater all since the offseason, going back to the combine. He was the one that was nitpicking his interview with Brian Daboll of the New York Giants and has been like standing 10 toes on how wrong he's been. He's continuing to stand 10 toes because immediately after the game, he talked about how Kliff Kingsbury's offense is a perfect fit for Jayden Daniels because it's extremely simple for him. Very simple offense for a guy like Jayden Daniels is. Basically, he's insulting the guy, saying his mental capacity, he needs Kliff Kingsbury to succeed because Jayden Daniels can't do it. It's not him. I mean, he literally tweeted, Jayden, after the game, or like towards the end of the game. This is 9:57 p.m. The game started at 8 p.m. Daniels can't process, throw mid-range, attack the sidelines, or manage a pocket, but he isn't asked to. He is asked to do a few simple things well and be an athlete, and that's his bread and butter. Completely discrediting him. I mean, you see this a lot in a lot of different situations, even outside of sports. I'm not even going to dive into that. But either way, the comment section under here, and even just the quote tweets are just so beautiful and poetic. Of course, Kirk Benkert got on him because they had a back and forth about the whole Jayden Daniels, Brian Daboll situation. You had, of course, Quincy Avery and those guys. They're all on his head. A lot of Commanders fans and reporters are on his head. But Kirk Benkert specifically said, just because you have NFL and you're on Twitter does not mean that you actually know ball. I love that. Was one of my favorite comebacks towards with that. I mean, that Joe A_NFL guy. Yeah, I don't know what his problem is, but he's being being the most stubborn about this Jayden Daniels situation than anybody else. Nobody else I've seen is being more stubborn than him. You even have fans of other teams showing Jayden Daniels love, and he can't. Like, you have J Tuck at JTuck151. I believe he's a Dallas Cowboys fan. He literally just tweeted a video of somebody drinking bleach, basically, and said, Commanders got a running game and a dual threat quarterback. And he said, Clorox on the rocks. He's sick of it, man. Then you have Kid Blue RB27, and he is a big time Giants fan. He tweeted a picture of the Jayden Daniels Giants jersey swap with Jayden Daniels in a Giants jersey and helmet, and he tweeted, I'm going to be watching Jayden Daniels' entire career, sitting back and wondering what could have been. Every throw, every run, every touchdown, the media attention, his growth and ascension, and his success. That should be us, in all caps, with a crying emoji. I mean, I appreciate the love, man. Hold on tight. Now, you also have current NFL players showing them love. How about, to start it off, how about players that he just played against? You have Jamar Chase in the locker room looking sick to his stomach. He said he's a great effing player. I'm not gonna lie. And in his Louisiana accent and all, man, showing love to him. Joe Burrow even said after the game, quote, I'm watching him. He played great. I told him that after the game. Congrats to him. Big time performance. Credit to them. They played unbelievable, unquote. And then you have Lamar Jackson himself showing love to the rookie Jayden Daniels. He tweeted under Jayden Daniels' post on Instagram, just a star and 2 100s. So that's big support by a guy that a lot of people comp Jayden Daniels to, and are now saying that Jayden Daniels is up there in this league. And of course, again, somebody earlier, like I said in the video, said that Lamar Jackson is a poor man's Jayden Daniels, which is hilarious. Then you even have Aaron Rodgers. He went on the McAfee show, praised Jayden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and the Commanders coaching staff himself up there. That's a whole 2 minute and 3 second clip on Twitter in itself. I told you, Pat McAfee gave us a lot of time, man. Then you have Raiders 3-time All-Pro Devontae Adams, who was arguably the biggest Commanders hater that we saw in the media within the past couple of months, talking about DC is a sad city, the fan base sucks, the team sucks. I mean, again, not even just the team or the players. He said the city sucks. Like, he hates the city. He even had to praise Jayden Daniels when he was talking to Kay Adams on her Up and Adams show later on. I think it was yesterday morning after the game, the morning after the game. He said, quote, he's a special player. We were hoping that all of the teams didn't think so he could slip to the Raiders, unquote. And of course, the Raiders had the 13th pick in the draft. Jayden Daniels was never making it there. And you know, Antonio, their head coach, and Jayden Daniels go way back to Arizona State together. So they had love for each other. You know, there was a lot of drama around that. But Jayden Daniels was never making it to your 13th pick. And then now, don't switch up now, Devontae Adams. Don't switch up now. Then you have current Commanders players. I mean, all types of praise from everybody. Jeremy Reeves said he's different. Jonathan Allen, he's the answer. And then, I mean, you just had so many Commanders players giving so many great quotes on Jayden Daniels. That's just the start of it. If you want more, make sure you go check that out, because I believe John Comm was the source that had a lot of those. Then you even have Malik Neighbors, a division rival who we've already beaten, but of course, one of Jayden Daniels' closest friends. They asked him, you watched that game last night? I know you did, because you commented about it. What were you thinking when you saw that? Malik Neighbors said, quote, I told him, and he laughed before he said this too. I told him after he saw me play, he was like, yeah, I've got to go dumb Monday. I was like, I'm rooting for you. Just don't go too hard, though. And he did exactly that. And he pretty much said that the rookie of the year is over with. Like, I mean, rookie of the week, he got it. And so basically, the point is, Malik Neighbors went crazy against the Browns. People have started to have discussions. Wait, maybe Malik Neighbors can win Offensive Rookie of the Year. And even Malik Neighbors acknowledged it. Jayden Daniels acknowledged it. He was like, hey, man, basically, Jayden Daniels saw that performance against the Browns, like, all right, I gotta outdo you. I gotta go there Monday night and basically put you back in your place in the Offensive Rookie of the Year running awards right now. And Malik Neighbors laughed and was like, man, please don't go too crazy, because I'm trying to win this Offensive Rookie of the Year. But at the same time, man, he's really happy for his guy, his close friend, both LSU guys. And then shouts out to my boy at Disco, my boy Disco on Twitter. Even though he's not necessarily like a current player or anything, I just felt like this was a great point to bring up. I wanted to bring it up. He said free agent wide receivers are going to want to come here now. I completely agree with that. So you may not even necessarily need to trade for a big time one. You may be able to get somebody to want to come here just because Jayden Daniels is that great. Great wide receivers want to play with great quarterbacks. That's just how it goes. Now let's move on to some Kingsbury love. And y'all been seeing the past couple of weeks, not just until after this Bengals game, I've been emphasizing King and capitalizing the King and Kingsbury for a couple of weeks now. So make sure you know that this is not just after the Bengals game. I gave him his credit even after the Buccaneers game and after the Giants game. So Kliff, Kingsbury love right now. You have Computer Cowboy, who's like one of the super duper advanced stats guy on the internet, man, and he's just pointing out so many great parts about this offense and a lot of advanced statistics around it. He said kudos to Washington here. Vast majority of teams probably punt and trust their defense here or try a field goal if they believe in their kicker. This is the 4th and 4 with 4 minutes and 27 seconds left in the fourth quarter, like a few plays before that Terry McLaurin touchdown in the corner of the end zone. And he also said also easier to go when your offense has been a juggernaut all game, which is basically a compliment to Kliff Kingsbury. His offense was unstoppable all game, so why not go for it, basically. Then PFT commenter said the Commanders haven't punted in 2 consecutive games for the first time since helmets existed. What is going on? And that's part of his tweet. What is going on? Then Greg Rosenthal, September Kliff is one of the most powerful phenomenons in sports, and I completely agree. Hopefully this isn't like a typical Kliff Kingsbury year where halfway through the season defense is figuring them out and then the offense suffers for it. But hey, man, first half of the season, Kliff Kingsbury is pretty much undefeated at this point. Then you have Matt Harmon. He said, I was skeptical of this offense overall and didn't love what I saw in the first game, but credit is absolutely due. Last night was one of the best showings you'll see from a unit in terms of both game plan and execution, and it is beyond clear that Jayden Daniels is a stud. But again, that's a lot of Kliff Kingsbury love there as well. Then you have just another year Chicago Bears, clearly a Chicago Bears fan, said, remember when Kliff Kingsbury was interviewed by the Bears for the offensive coordinator position? He said, yeah, me too. And he quote tweeted he put up the clip of that first Terry McLaurin deep bomb from Jayden Daniels, basically as a Bears fan, just like a Giants fan said earlier, saying that, man, it would have been nice if we could have had Kliff Kingsbury and Jayden Daniels, man. And then shouts out to @JDanielsMVP for this one. He said through 3 weeks, the Commanders offense is ranked 6th in the league this year, while the Raiders offense is ranked 21st. Remember that Kliff Kingsbury was very close to becoming the Raiders' next offensive coordinator, but backed out last second to become the Washington one instead. I do remember that. Shouts out to Magic Johnson for helping sway Kliff Kingsbury over here. I don't know where we'd be without him right now. As much love as we have for Jayden Daniels, you need to give Kliff Kingsbury a lot of the love as well. And then a real quick Terry love, because most of my Terry love is going to come with some advanced stats, so I'm saving that for the next video that I'm going to do. Mina Com said, I'm so happy for Terry. Nothing better than when a receiver finally gets to play with a quarterback who throws an accurate deep ball. I mean, she is so, and it was like one of the like happy tearing up emojis, so you know she means that she really, really, truly is happy for Terry McLaurin. And before we get up out of here, you have Brett Coleman. I mean, as neutral of an analyst as possible. He said the best part of Jayden being good is Dan Snyder doesn't get to enjoy it. Great point. And again, I think he's like a Steelers fan. Absolutely nothing to do with the Commanders. Not a Commanders lover or hater, as neutral as it gets. And for him to even point that out, I felt like that was one of the most perfect quotes from after that game. Then you have That Good Sports at Brandon Perna saying Jayden Daniels and CJ Stroud are changing their approach to tanking. This is a funny quote. He said every bad team in the NFL will now try to be the second worst team by the end of the season instead of the number one worst team, because those second overall picks are hitting better than the number one overall picks, basically. And then lastly, before we get up out of here, we have at Hoff Jojo. He said people saying Jayden Daniels is in the better situation than Caleb Williams has to be the biggest switch up I've ever seen. And that is getting on my nerves. I mean, maybe there's some validity to that because of the offensive line, but all offseason, everybody kept hyping up Caleb Williams. He's going to this great passing situation. He's going to a great offensive line. The Jayden Daniels is going to a horrible situation. There's no way Jayden Daniels can succeed, especially compared to Caleb Williams. Even though he's going number one overall, Jayden Daniels going number 2 overall. Caleb Williams is easily going to the best team between the two. Arguably one of the best situations that any rookie quarterback has ever gone to in NFL history. And now look at people switching it up, saying Caleb Williams has a terrible situation, and of course Jayden Daniels is balling out because he's in a better situation. Oh, I don't want to hear it. Shouts out to Av Hoff Jojo for pointing that out. I believe he's a Commanders fan that tweeted that. Shouts out to him, man. I completely agree, man. That was probably the thing that made me the most upset out of anything else that I saw after that Bengals victory, that people now switching it up like that. And again, there may be some validity there because that Bears O-line is terrible, and this Commanders O-line is looking better than most people expected. But man, say that, man. Say that. I don't want to hear that, man. Freeze me on that one, man. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Let me know how you feel about everything in this video. Make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you do not leave this video without stiff arming that like button. Of course, let me know how you feel about all of these quotes. Let me know your favorite quote. Let me know if you saw any other quotes that I missed from anybody around the entire internet or the media that had something positive to say about the Commanders that I did not include in this video. Please, I want this to be an archive for Commanders love. So I want people to not only watch my video and all of the quotes that I gave you, but I also want people to even go to the comment section and this basically be like a Reddit thread of all of the love that the Commanders have been receiving since we beat the Bengals in Cincinnati. And it's even better for me too because the Bengals have my favorite colors and jerseys in the NFL, orange and black. You can't beat that for me. And so to go to their house down 7-0 and to win that game like we did, as desperate as they were, with the risk of going 0-3, and they have Super Bowl hopes. Oh man, you can't get any better than that. So please let me know how you feel about all of that in the comment section. Please give me any quotes from anybody that you can find around the internet. I really appreciate it. Do not leave this video without leaving a like. I'm gonna catch y'all later, maybe even later tonight with a video, maybe tomorrow morning at the latest. I'm already working on some film sessions that are going to be exclusive to channel members only. I think we're going to go ahead and start with Johnny Newton because I may have a point to prove that Johnny Newton already may be our best interior defensive lineman. It's insane. You'll see what I'm talking about in this film session. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.